Welcome everybody to Eye of the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card reading. Today's reading is hopefully going to be a bit of fun. That's the intent, to be a little bit lighthearted, a little bit of fun, a little bit of a iconoclast in the world, because that's really what the theme of this is. Celebrating the wonderful Sacred Rebels deck by Alana Fairchild, which you see as part of the choice here. Really just asking, where would your inner rebel best work for you now? Because we all have a part within us which wants to be different, wants to be unique, maybe wants to push back against restrictive situations or restrictive ideas or ideologies. And we may do it literally, we may do it through our art and our creativity, we may do it in some other way, politically, socially, whatever it might be. But it doesn't always have to be really overt, it could be quite subtle. But it is an area where we find our inner rebel, as I say, our inner iconoclast. So I want to celebrate that and look at where would that best work for you, what will it bring you, and how other people respond, what sort of supports are there for you, and so forth. So that's the theme of the reading. And as I say, to help with the choice, to set the theme, I'm using cards from the Sacred Rebels Oracle. And the first one, which I shuffled and asked Spirit to give me what would be the three top themes or whatever, are shown here. So I'll put down the numbers for the readings. But there's also two other cards. So this is sort of like an overarching theme, and two other cards from this particular oracle are going to help me sort of look at the inner and outer aspects of how this might manifest in your inner rebel, and then we'll drill into more detail with tarot and other oracle cards. So it may be that this theme draws you in, the imagery there may be that you go to a particular number. Whatever works for you is fine. But for pile number 1, we have shock of the new. For pile number 2, we have power of attraction. And for pile number 3, we have inner trust. So as I say, one of those concepts might draw you, the imagery may draw you, something else may. When you know what reading or readings you want to go to, and by all means go to more than one if you feel drawn to more than one. The timestamps, as always, are in the description box below. And when you know, I'll see you there. Welcome, pile 1, to your reading. So you came to the reading that had the shock of the new to start with. And the overarching theme around that in terms of the inner rebel is an understanding, an intuition really, that something very new, very different is coming into your life. So it's often a prescience, and with visions of life beyond death as being the sort of inner manifestation of this energy and this being the outer. There's definitely a sense, I think, that many of the people who've chosen this particular reading, this particular pile, are getting an upgrade, an upload, a different approach, a different sort of channel almost for psychic energy, psychic understanding. So sort of like shifting up a level in the ascension pathway, whatever sort of terminology you might want to use, is connected to this in some way. But in doing it, what is interesting and why your inner rebel has to come out is that it won't appear like you expect it to appear. So the shock of the new is sort of, it can sometimes be something very subtle that is different, that you have a sense is going to take you in a very different direction, or it could be something that's so alien that it's even hard to comprehend. I'm getting, for some of you, you may have lucid dreams, astral travel or something, see things that are way beyond what you would have expected to see. It's almost like you could go to the next level in an ascension path and it looks completely different to what you would have expected. It would be, if you'd been expected, rainbow colours, it's going to be all greys and that kind of colouring. It just depends on what it is. But this is definitely saying that something new is coming in, something that you don't expect, that has great potential. And you have to be prepared to embrace that which is new and not sort of feel this is too alien or too different and turn away from it. Now, the inner manifestation of this inner rebel is to tune into your psychic knowing with visions of life beyond death. I do think that for some of you, you're literally going to be seeing something in that space. Some of you may be becoming mediums, and you may find that energy and wisdom is coming to you that way, or that could be the shock of the new, certainly, if you suddenly start to be clairaudient and you hear ancestors talking to you literally. So it could be something as overt as that. It could be something that you trained for and it's coming in a form that you didn't expect, or it could be that it is just a sort of a development and a knowledge that's coming through that gives you a sense of the new that's coming in, and inspiration. For some of you, it may be highly inventive. You may become an inventor, and part of your shock of the new is that you'll get an inspiration that has a sense in the global sort of shifting of the world and energies and what we're next meant to do, you know, as we get into sort of new worlds and new ways of doing things. All of that's coming in, but definitely there's a sense that it comes very psychically, very transformatively. You know, we sort of see the peacock here, which is very alchemical. We see the owl, which is wise. There's wisdom, there's transformation, but it requires transformation. I think this is the point. This is why it's turned up in this reading, because you're going to transform as a result of this. But it, at first you may want to push back. And this is where the external manifestation comes in, and where the key to it comes, because this is beyond the mind, the heart beats. I feel that most people who've come to pile one, you have some very strong theoretic ideas about, you know, spirituality or whatever this is. You know, this could be science, this could be technology, this could be invention, or it could be spirituality. For a lot of you, it's spirituality, but it could be a number of things. You have some very strong ideas in your mind about this, and you're very clever. And you've relied on your mind, and with good reason. But what is coming through and what this is requiring is you to go into your heart. It doesn't necessarily mean you sort of ignore the mind. I don't think you could, but it's the mind's the thing that's not going to recognize this. Whereas if you go within your heart, you will recognize what it is. And that applies as to whether it's an inspiration for an invention, or whether it's a new love coming in, or whether it's a connection to another level of the sublime or the numinous. Whatever it might be, your inner rebel is really your heart. In essence, your heart and your eyes, in a way. I know this might sound like a strange thing, but this talks about the all-seeing eye. I see the eyes as very sort of clear here, but sometimes the eyes need to shut to let the heart in and to let that energy in. So knowing when to look within and knowing when to look without is part of what's coming in, part of the inner rebel. And it's what you love as opposed to what you believed or what you thought was the case. I mean, some of you, as I say, you might have very sort of strong views about particular spiritual traditions, and you're going to find some information's coming in that's very different to what you expected. It's not necessarily going to negate what you thought, but it's going to supplement it, but it will feel very different. So your inner rebel is meant to connect back to your heart so that you don't dismiss it, because there are great opportunities coming with this. So let's use the tarot and let's ask how you would best bring this inner rebel out to make use of this new energy that's coming through, this new vision, this new wisdom that's coming through for you. This is a new deck, and I'm sort of getting used to it because it's a little bit dark in its colouring. Just to make sure that I'm clear what the cards are. So it's another version of the Broken Mirror, but it's the 5th edition. Okay, for many of you, this could literally with the heart connect to a new love that's coming in, and it's very different to the sort of person that you would have fallen in love with before. So some of this may be the rebellion to accept love that looks different. And that could be different on any sort of level. It could be gender, it could be social status, it could be spiritual beliefs, it could be anything. But when we've got the Page of Cups and the 3 of Cups here, there's a lot to do with the heart. Certainly it is saying the heart is the way to bring the inner rebel out. But I feel for some of you it is going to manifest in a relationship in some way. Maybe you shift spiritual groups or scientific approaches or political beliefs or whatever it might be that was sitting in your head, and it comes from the inspiration that comes almost psychically. So it could very well be the kind of, you know, emotional or love union that is very soul connected and very sort of psychic. Definitely the mind needs to be switched off with the Magician reversed. It's your one potential where you would actually destabilize your own inner rebel. It's where you would kind of limit yourself in what you could do and what you could move forward. This is the Magician reversed. It's saying that you have to shut off the mind part of this at this point and the control part of it. You do have to almost let go and let God with this and allow heart energy to come in. It looks very positive, but you doubt it for some reason. You look at it and you doubt it. And certainly if it's coming through as a spiritual thing, you may literally think, you know, is this from the wrong sort of energy? Is this, it's so different, it's so alien, should I trust it? But that's your mind talking, because there's something with the Page of Coins or Page of Pentacles here, something material that you're meant to make out of this, a new relationship, a new new invention, as I said, a new business, something like that. And it's to open up what hasn't worked before, because this is the Empress reverse. So it's coming on the back of something that hasn't worked, something you tried to create, something that you've tried to nurture, or even a situation where you felt depleted because you've been nurturing others, maybe within some structure or some way of being that you felt you had to be. And so the inner rebel is to go, no, I have to follow my own heart here. I have to stop listening to all the rules and regulations that are around me. There's something I'm meant to do, something I'm meant to create, something that I'm meant to bring into being. And you can only do it by connecting to your heart and not to a sense of duty. See, this feels like love, and this feels like duty that is not reciprocated properly. So some of this knowing is sent to you to do that, and your inner rebel is to sort of start to say, no, I'm going to actually create for myself. So for some of you, it may be in balanced relationships to bring in a better relationship. And some, it may be that you're in a spiritual tradition where you're doing most of the giving, and people around you are saying to you, that's what you have to do here. You have to sacrifice all the time. And Spirit is saying, no, that's not if you get within your heart as opposed to just listen to your head. You wouldn't think that way about it. So let's see if you actually embrace the pathway of going to your heart rather than the rules, regulations and expectations, and let whatever this new alien thing is come through. What will it bring you? And I apologise for the time. It's very hard. Some of these are a little bit hard to tell what they are. It's very hard to read what they are. So wow. It's all about, you know what the interesting thing about this is, Pile 1, is that it's all about changing your mind about something. But the way to get it is through your heart. What this is saying, the shock of the new, is to get out of the sort of, as I say, the logic. Like for you, it's all about logic, and your heart is the only thing that could change that logic, that could release you. Because, you know, we've got the Two of Swords reversed, we've got the Five of Swords reversed, we've got the Four of Swords reversed, and then we've got the Hanged Man reversed. So this is all about that. Two of Swords reversed is to break you free so that you can make decisions. You're at an impasse about something. So this energy is coming through, and it is deliberately going to be different in some way so that you're shocked into looking at things differently. With the Five of Swords reversed, that releases you from the sense of obligation, duty, and conflict that comes from that. With the Four of Swords reversed, you start to emerge with a different perspective. With the Hangman reversed, you see things differently, you understand things differently. By closing your eyes, that's how you actually see, by going into your heart. So this is all about changing your mind about something. So it's possible that for some of you, something has not been working. You know, a spiritual pathway has not been manifesting for you. A relationship hasn't been working because it hasn't been reciprocal and nurturing to you as much as you expect. A spiritual path may have actually seemed false. There's something like that. But this energy is coming through to speak direct to your heart, but in a language maybe that your mind can let through because of the wisdom and so forth. And that's what it's meant to do. You're meant to let it happen, because you hold yourself so tightly to, you know, what's the facts, what's the evidence, you know, what's the logic of this, that it's hard to get past the sort of restriction of the Magician reversed. So how will others around you respond if you start to sort of open up to your heart and to this new direction? Moon reversed, King of Coins, Queen of Coins. Okay. There's going to be sponsors for what you do. If you are wanting to do something in a business around this, if this is an invention or a spiritual business or something like that, you're going to get real supporters, people who will really see the value in what you're doing. So there is a shift about doing something new, bringing it into being on a material level. You will definitely get that. If this is about a relationship, this is the king and queen. This is the divine partnership that occurs when you have the king and queen in the same suit and they're both upright. So it will bring in, if you're looking for the right person, it's going to bring in the right person and ground that energy, definitely. It's also going to bring to the surface with the moon reversed where people tried to manipulate you, where people tried to control you, where things were not right. So it just feels that for most of the people who've come to this reading, you've been stuck in some outdated way of looking at the world. And your heart will lead you to the right people, the right business, the right outcomes, and will surface for you how much that has served. You're being stuck in this sort of sense of obligation has served other people. So this is about liberating you. The shock of the new, that's what this is about. Your inner rebel is meant to rise and say, my heart matters too. I am not here obliged to everybody else. And in doing it, you find the better balances, whether it be business, whether it be academic, whether it be political, whether it be love. But it's a better connection. Better connections come into your life. So this is a real call to action to do something. I think for some of these readings, it may be just much more an inner thing, but this is really embracing a different way of looking at things and a different set of obligations than the ones that you've been carrying. So let's see what energy we can muster up for you to support you with the modern goddess deck. So goddess and archetype energy to support you in getting into your heart and letting this inner rebel out. Then we're going to look at your personal magic and what can operate with that, and then see what the stars, what astrology can give you. The mystic. So a lot of you, this is going to be very much downloaded from a spiritual source, high level guide around you, or if you do mystic sort of work yourself, it's through that you're going to get in touch with this. You're going to have an aha moment that you've got caught in dogma rather than the reality potentially. Kali, taking all before. Destroying that which is no longer necessary, rebirth, all of those sort of things. The fierce energy to take this through. And the fae, the fairy, bringing the liberation, bringing the right connections, all of that sort of thing. So we literally have a kind of an order, I think, in which this is going to happen. I think that the mystic energy is a very strong guide around you that is going to, I'm feeling Minerva, that kind of thing with the owl there, going to bring you the information. Kali breaks through with the shock of the news, says you can't ignore this, even if it doesn't feel right, even if it feels alien. There is certain things need to end to bring new things in. The Fae then brings you back to connection with the material world, with nature, with how that can manifest in some way. So it's definitely telling a story of taking this on and making it into something. And I think it's confirming again that this is about you doing something with this information. It's not just having it within. Okay, so let's see what magic within you or magic processes around you are important to you taking advantage of the shock of the new, pile 1. Samadhi, perfect acceptance. This is the combination of the wisdom and closing and getting into your heart. Acceptance for what needs to change. Something needs to change in your life to free you, pile 1, definitely. But it also brings in better connections, better outcomes, better manifestations. And opulence, it's time to lead. Yes, once you've done that, you take forward and you create. I mean, I think for many of you, you're going to create money, you're going to create wealth, you're going to create a mutually supportive relationship. There's sort of a sense of bringing in more material benefit. It feels a lot like someone who's sort of been around various spiritual areas and tried to manifest and tried to do things, and it just hasn't clicked. And they don't realize it. They may even think they've been in their heart, or they may even think that they've been spiritual. But what they've been doing is that they've been following dogmas. They've been following, this is how it's done. And if it's not working that way, it's you're failing. I think there's unfortunately quite a bit of that around law of attraction. It's sort of like one of those slippery things where if it doesn't work, it's you. But it may be that there's something fundamentally wrong with the philosophy that you're following with that. And when you get this direct download and you get back to your heart, you actually can sort of like unstick that, not be caught in the dogma of it. So let's see what astrology helps you as well, pile 1. Third quarter, releasing, out with the old and in with the new, basically. There is something to release. There is definitely an approach, a style. Kali says this very strongly. It's time to let go of the old, to let that die, bring the new in. Then first quarter, picking up speed. Once you do that, things start to move quite quickly. Once you've had the aha moment and you recognize the shock of the new, in whatever level it comes, very subtle through to very dramatic, things really start to pick up speed for you at that point because you're not holding yourself back. And first house, you become you as opposed to all the rules, regulations, theories, philosophies of other people. You know, this feels like you move away from following others and following ideas and following yourself, following your heart, which is the thing that leads you to leadership and opulence. Okay, so let's see. We're going to finish off. We're going to use 4 different decks that have different icons from different areas. So, you know, using, you know, the art world, the fashion world, the music world, and also general people. And we are going to be really looking as much as anything at their advice, but also who it is that's coming up, just to sort of see what kind of energies might be similar to what your inner rebel and what you can do with it is. So firstly, looking at the fashion world, we have Estee Lauder. Okay, so a makeup queen, sort of someone who is very much about beauty and so forth, and how you simplify things and you have power as a statement of self. So she says you can rule the world with lipstick. So you can rule the world with your core, with what your heart is. A lady should be crease-free in clothes and in fashion. Yeah, let go of that which is holding you back, that which is rumpled, that which is old, and earn your daydreams. Get into what this would be materially, I think Estee Lauder is saying to you. From the art world, we have Frida Kahlo. See, this is very strong, rising above adversity, rising above physical limitations. So if any of you have that, you know, or feeling about age or the way that you look in any particular way, this is really about your own individual beauty and so forth, and artwork coming from you. So much of her artwork was from her. She says, convalescence lasts a lifetime. You don't spell painting without pain. So I think this is just to understand that you don't need to feel bad about any of the past around this. You know, you've learnt from this, and getting back to your heart might have a little bit of pain at first, and that might be why it feels alien, but it will be ultimately liberating. She says, art is your most loyal companion. So I think in this case that translates to your heart. It's really interesting that art is the last 3 words of heart. So getting into your heart, I think, is the key here. And she says, externalize your internal world. Yeah, this is meant to be externalized. You can't, this is not just a rebellion within that you can contemplate. This is meant to be manifest in the world to bring out the outcomes. Let's see what music icon you have for your inner rebel, pile 1. Bob Dylan. Wow. Okay. So really strong social conscience around this. As I said, for some of you, this may be around, you know, like a theology, a political viewpoint, a social viewpoint. It depends on what it is. But it's also about expressing what's in the heart. He says, nostalgia is for 2-time losers. Yeah, let go of the past. Shocker than you. This is what this is about. He says, don't mistake that mansion on the hill for paradise. No, you need to work out what your heart wants. I just think that many of you have had an imprint of people telling you what manifestation is, what spiritual beliefs are, what inventiveness is, how we do things around here, any of those things. But it's a chimera. What you're meant to be getting to is what's within your heart. And he says, darkness may be falling, but we're not there yet. So don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of closing your eyes and going within. And last but not least, we're going to get one from the love oracles, which is people from all different types of history. So one other icon that may be part of your inner iconoclast, pile 1, to finish off the reading. Queen Victoria. You're meant to be powerful. You're saying it's the Queen, the King and the Queen here. You're meant to start your own legacy, your own sort of, you know, royal family in a sense. This is the point. You know, you can't be following somebody else's dogma. So she says, I would venture to warn against too great intimacy with artists, as it is very seductive and a little dangerous. So I think that this is really just saying you need to find your own art. You maybe have been drawn into if some of you are into art and into performance and stuff, you may have been drawn into the viewpoint of others a bit too much. You need to sort of work out what's true to you. She says, no girl would go to the altar if she knew all. So I think that's really a sense of you understanding what the costs and the benefits are of what you do, because I do think for some of you there's actually a relationship coming, but it needs to be one that comes from awareness and from what your heart is looking for rather than from what society expected. And she says, the important thing is not what they think of me, but what I think of them. Yes, yes. That's probably the key thing. Your inner iconoclast should be making your own decisions. It should be making your own viewpoint about the people around you. It will draw the right people to you, but you will have done that with a sense of knowing, not with a sense, as I say, of obligation, of duty, of status, of whatever it is that have been sort of driving your actions to date, because you had been limiting yourself in a way that you don't need to. So pile one, I hope that that is helpful. I hope that that stirs your inner rebel and your inner iconoclast to be more and more true to yourself and your heart, because I think the only way is up if that's the case. Hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. And if you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear about it. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile two, to your reading. So this was the card that possibly drew you here, the Power of Attraction. And then these are the inner manifestation and outer manifestation of your inner rebel and what is possible to you. And it's very interesting, actually, because the Power of Attraction talks about the big, bold vision, which is, in fact, the inner manifestation of this. They're very, very strongly connected, even though the Power of Attraction comes prior to this in the deck, and it's 13 and then this is 15. But this is saying that your inner rebel, your inner iconoclast, needs to start to recognize you're ready to step up a level. So whether that's stepping up a level in your career, whether it's creatively, whether it's spiritually, you are drawing in something new, the big, bold vision and so forth. You are ready to do that. So, and it may be, given also having seen the true you here, that it may require you to do something different, like to be a bit of a rebel, to leave a workplace, to leave a social group, whatever it might be, because there is a sense with these two cards here, and as it manifests, that you may have been held back by the viewpoints of other people. So this would be a classic sort of thing where you are ready to be a leader, you are ready to be a creator, you are ready to bring in sort of new things. You've internally drawn in this big, bold vision. You kind of have a better sense of what your power is and who you could be in the world and how you could be productive in the world and so forth. And it's time for you to step up. But this card is talking about seeing the true you and not limiting yourself by other people's beliefs. So I think that the inner rebel within you is meant to claim your right to rise, your right to bring something in, your right to create, your right to be a leader, whatever it might be. And it may require, I think, leaving an environment, different people around you, because with this sense here, it's you've had a tendency in the material world to go too much by the ideas that others have of you, when in actual fact you're meant to be manifesting your idea of yourself and who you are. And I'm actually looking at this because it looks a bit like Narcissus looking into the water. I'm not saying that you're a narcissist, but I wonder whether some of you are in an environment where it's highly competitive and you've got a really great idea or whatever, but some might actually say it's not your place to do it, or it's too egotistical, or you're just doing it to sort of get attention or whatever. This is important for you to understand that's not true and to not let that sort of programming come into it, because you're drawing success that is your due to you, and that is so that you can bring in something, the next step. You are the right person. So you're the right person for the job, you're the right person to create something, you're the right person for a relationship potentially. And if others have told you no, you're not right for that person, you're batting above your league, whatever, all of that is untrue. You need to get in touch with who you are, because this is meant to come to you. So it really is a kind of a cry. The inner rebel needs to be crying out and saying, no, I know who I am and I know what I'm due and I'm going to go after it, basically. I'm not going to be limited by the views that anybody else has of me. So let's ask where you most need to use this inner rebel energy with the tarot. So we've got the Six of Coins. Sorry, it takes me a couple of minutes because this is very dark writing and I'm unfamiliar at this point with this deck. Knight of Coins. A lot of you, this is around work, I've got to say, with those two coming up. And then Five of Coins. Yeah, it's definitely around material things for most of you. And Three of Coins. And then the Four of Wands. Yeah, and who are the right people to be around. Okay. So this is saying that you are meant to be, and this is part of this, to get to the right level and to get to the right place. You are meant to be in a situation where you can be committed to what you do, you can build what you want in a sort of mutually supportive environment, and one where the team harmony is good. But you are not there at the moment. With the Five of Coins, you've been sort of isolated, you've been judged, something like that. And you've got a foundation, you've got something to move forward with, but where you are at the moment is not going to do that for you. Now, I would never say just get up and leave a job, and tell your boss to shove it. Always have somewhere to go to, but this is saying that this is what's coming through. It's time for you to step up. And the next place that you go, the next thing that you do, you've got the foundations you need for that. You are going to find a better reciprocity of energy, a better sort of team environment, and you will feel more committed to it. This energy is you are in the wrong place at the moment in some way, and you have been isolated. You've been told that it's you, that you wouldn't fit in with this group or whatever, but you will fit in with the right people. And this is being done for you to understand that this big, bold vision, this sort of idea that you might have, this career idea, whatever it is, can't be in the environment that you're in. So it's time to start looking, as I say, and then it might take you some period of time to find this place. But if you are not taking this energy in, if you understand this is just an impetus, this sense of not fitting in where you are and not being recognized is the impetus to go somewhere where you are. So that's what this is about. So let's sort of see what the benefit is when you do this. Got the Tower reversed, the Page of Swords reversed, Temperance reversed, and Death reversed. So it's interesting they're all reversed where the benefit is, but I think it's just really underlying the importance of the shift. With the Tower reverse, that's definitely a benefit. It is saying that you will be able to decide the timing of this. So this is not a situation where you would be suddenly lose your job tomorrow or something like that. You have time to realise that this tower is not going to take you where you need to, and to make the incremental changes to do it. And the benefit is understanding that you can do, not secretive, but you can do sort of under the radar sort of like communication. So it's sort of like, don't go telling your boss you're looking for another job or something like that. It's more around, you have time to suss out the information around, to work out, how to communicate, and you will be given the protection, I think, from your guides and others to make sure that you can do that quietly without being seen. I do think that it's also, the benefit of this was to get you to the point where you felt so out of balance with where you were that you had to make a decision. So I feel like most of you have been or will be, passed over for a promotion or unfairly treated, and not in a really drastic way, but in enough of a way for you to know that, yes, it's time. I can't avoid this anymore. And I think it's going to be really obvious to you too that this was not fair. Whatever happened was not fair, and that you were misjudged, so that it shifts you out of this reluctance to make a decision. So you seem to be someone who's very committed when you do something, and so there's probably a side of you that, I've got to stay committed to this, it'll work itself out. I think something's coming to show you no, because you are ready to step up, you are ready to get the rewards. It's not going to happen until you move on, but it's going to be this inner rebel rising as you understanding that and finally making the decision, rather than just sort of waiting for the next performance review. So let's see how others are going to respond when you do this. Nine of Coins, Eight of Coins, Six of Cups. Okay, so I think with the Page of Swords reversed, I think that most people that would have a problem with this are not going to see it until it's done. So it doesn't even really matter. I think that some people will see this as you stepping into your own power and your own independence. Some people are really going to admire this. Some of you may actually leave and start a business of your own with this, and that seems to go very, very well, and your skills are very much seen if that's the case. But if not, your activities to move up the ladder and to be more independent are going to be seen very well by people. They're going to sort of recognize in you something that fits with them. So there's a different environment where you fit in much more with what they're looking for, and your skills are much more recognized. So I think it's saying that those that would push back are going to be in the rear vision mirror, basically. Those that are seeing this happen when it comes out are going to admire your skills, are going to see you on the leadership track, and they're going to think, yeah, this is the person that we need. This fits in with our culture, our way of being. So your inner rebel here is a call to see yourself as you are truly, so that other people can see yourself truly. So let's see what support we can get for you. Let's get something from the Modern Goddess Oracle, sort of goddess or archetype energy that can support you in, I think, covert in the best possible way. It's not sort of anything bad, but I think it gives me the sense of what you do when you apply for work. You don't necessarily tell your current job that you're doing that, but you wait until something is offered, something is there, and then you're moving forward. So let's see what energies can support you. Carly, that's interesting. She came up in another reading. So there's definitely the fierceness this is like your ultimate inner rebel, really. The fierceness to go through the change that is necessary. We have Sif and Mazu. So 3 goddess energies for you. So as I said, Carly is change, destruction of the old, bringing in the new. Sif is interesting in this because I think she's with you right now in the situation that you're in, because she is there to provide support when you don't have support around you, and I don't think you do. I think most people, if you've come to the right reading here, you are surrounded by those that judge you unfairly, you are not supported, you probably give a lot of support to others. So she is there to give you that support until such time as you can move on. Mazu is a sort of a goddess who became a goddess of the water, and I think it's interesting that seeing your real self in the water here, there's an emotional aspect to this. This is about moving into your own power and knowing who you are and being able to travel on. So I think there's that sense of movement and support for you to shift and to become more true to yourself. And I do think with that water there, for many of you, it may be that you are in a very sort of stodgy or stuffy sort of environment. That's something that's not emotionally true to you. Once you get more close to what's emotionally true to yourself, you can then manifest more materially as well. So let's see what magic within you or magic energy around you can also help you, pile 2. Resilience, burn away the past. Yeah, until you're ready to move, you're going to have to be resilient. Because as I say, most people can't unless you have money. And if you have money and you've got a buffer, then you do you. But for most people, when you're in this situation, you have to sort of wait till you have the next thing. But I think there is the capacity to burn away the past when a new opportunity comes through. And we have Ubuntu, compassion for others. Yeah, because there's something, I think you're going to move into something where it's more about the heart, it's more from the heart, and your skills and your empathy and your understanding is going to fit in more there. It's like, I think that's part of what's going to be seen in you, that sort of energy, that sort of caring, and then you will be able to commit to it because it is the right place for you to commit to. And you care anyway. This is why Sif is with you. Sif is a energy where you've cared for others. So you're never going to fully abandon people. If you move on, you may well take people with you or inspire them to do something like you've done. Let's have a look at what astrology can guide you in awakening your inner rebel, pile 2. Third quarter, the release, out with the old, in with the new. That came up in another one as well too. Some of you may be going to 2. And if that's the case, I think with the other one, it's very much in the field of work, because this is very much in the field of work, career, how you make money, your status in the world. And we have Sagittarius, freedom, and a better philosophy for you and more creative energy, sort of like this is to release you and to bring things more into balance, with Temperance being the tarot card for Sagittarius. And we have the 7th house. Some of you may find a very significant, so that kind of looked like a love relationship. A lot of this seems to be about work, but you may find very significant relationships come as a result of this. The one thing I would say though, if that's the case, is that when you first move, it may be that you come across as being very, very independent with the 9 of Pentacles. So if you move somewhere and then there's potentially a love relationship, just be aware that you could be coming across as so strong and independent. Make sure that the emotional side of you is also seen if you sort of see someone you're interested in. Okay, so to finish off, we're just going to use 4 of the decks that have different icons and kind of iconoclasts as well within their own realms, which is why I wanted to use them, to get different sort of energies that are a bit similar to your inner rebel and what their advice is. So starting with the fashion oracles, so people from the fashion world. Marc Jacobs. So I don't know a lot about Marc Jacobs, but I do know he started his own fashion line. And I think this is the point, being you rather than, I think one of the things about fashion in general is that sort of sense of creating what is yours. I also think that, often in the fashion industry, people have to rise from being the interns where they're recreating other people's stuff to bring in their own stuff. His advice to you is, firstly, true beauty lies in the imperfect. So yeah, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to fit into some cutout. He says, fashion is about desire. Who said anything about need? So that's interesting. Who is you? What do you desire? People might be telling you, you need to do this. This is the things that you have to do to be the right sort of person or to be responsible. But there's also like what's in your heart, what's in your emotion. Also, if in doubt, there's always social media. So that might suggest that there's a little bit of a hint there about how you might be able to connect and find the next job. It might be through networking and so forth. Let's get you someone from the art world. So we've got a couple of people, Gilbert and George. So it's interesting in a way because we've got this potential significant relationship. It could actually be a collaborator because these are collaborators. And they sort of mixed a lot about social, sexual, politics, all of that sort of thing together in their artwork. So they meant to inspire. They were really iconoclastic in that way. They sort of pushed the envelope. What they say is, be the art you wish to see in the world. Yeah, be you. Get in touch with you. Your work should not be selfish. So I don't think it will be because there is this sort of sense of care around you, but I think it's balancing those things because I think people have pulled your strings and made you feel that you had to be a particular way or you were being selfish. And they say, dress the part. So yeah, own who you are. Don't try and fit into a uniform of a workplace or a culture that doesn't fit you. Let's see what the music world has by way of iconic or iconoclastic advice for you, pile 2. Patti Smith, there you go. Deep, strong, emotional, getting to the point. She says, Jesus died for somebody's sins, but not yours. Yeah, like I think you've just been caught in something where there's all sorts of rules and regulations. Like don't get caught in that. She says, learn to make peace with eternal dissatisfaction. There's almost a sense of that in that card. Like it's okay. It's a journey that you're on. It doesn't have to be perfect all the time. Then the most powerful form of rebellion is of the spirit. And this is all about rebellion, all about the inner rebel, the sacred rebel. So make sure you are following your spirit. And last but not least, pile 2, we'll draw you somebody from the love oracles, which could be anyone from history. It's not necessarily within particular time periods for particular industries, so to speak. Elizabeth I. Wow. Okay, you're definitely meant to come into your own power. Like if you get something like Elizabeth I, that tells me that part of the reason that people have been trying to straitjacket you is they're a bit threatened by you. But I do think when you get out, people will sort of see your value, as I say, because Elizabeth I is very interesting. She had to sort of navigate the kind of medieval court politics to stay alive until such time she came to the throne. And, she was the daughter of Anne Boleyn, so had to sort of deal with what, had been said about her mother and so forth. And yet she came to be probably the most powerful ruler ever in England's history. So I take that as a bit of a sign that you should be really backing yourself in terms of your own internal power. So Elizabeth says, have the heart of a man and the body of a woman. And so that's the sort of sense of like, I think you're divine, masculine and feminine together. And I think it does pick up. There's something about power involved in all of this. That's why I think it's primarily in relation to something like career. She also says, I would rather be a beggar and single than a queen and married. So again, even though I think that there's a relationship potentially, it's got to be one on your terms and the right person for you. this is why it's important for you to come into your power. Then you could potentially have that. And then she says, a clear and innocent conscience fears nothing. Yeah, you haven't done anything wrong. I mean, that's the bottom line about it. But you've been straitjacketed. Your inner rebel is meant to find the place that is right for you. So I hope that resonates for you, pile 2. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. And if you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Beyond that, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 3, to your reading. So Inner Trust is the card that might have brought you here. It was certainly the card that was above these 2 cards in the pile choice. And that gives us the first part of the theme about what your inner rebel is meant to teach you, what you're meant to bring out with your inner rebel. Then we have the internal manifestation and the external manifestation. I think there's a very specific thing here, so I think that you'll be able to work out very quickly if this is the right reading for you. This is, I think, for people who are very, very gifted. Very, very, whether it's spiritually, psychologically, intellectually, athletically, it could be any kind of gift. Though I think for many of you it's spiritual or intellectual or something like that, or some almost sort of Renaissance type person. Like there's a real sense of inner knowing and needing to trust that, but in very competitive environments. And there is a issue of working out how to remain true to that inner trust and to know that what is emerging in you and an understanding of your abilities. And I think you're starting to see abilities you didn't even know you had. So it could be spiritual, it could be intellectual, it could be creative, could be anything. It's coming subtly with she feels she knows. It's a sense of like just starting to see who you could be. It's, for some of you, I think it's like memory of past life abilities and so forth, or things that you were very good at when you were young and you kind of put aside, for the sort of more material things of life, and now you're kind of becoming aware of them again or something like that. But there's a subtle sort of shift about, you know what, I really am talented. I really am special in this way. And I suspect when you've got that and then the need for the inner trust and then Pandora's gift, that for many of you, it could have been brought up in a family environment where your gifts were submerged in some way because it was not, not supposed to be, you weren't the right gender, or you weren't the right, child in a sequence of children, or whatever it might be. There's something here because it's the emergence of your gifts into the world. I mean, Pandora is basically she who has all the gifts, and she was incredibly gifted, but then of course she loosed all the sorts of potential issues into the world, retaining only hope. So there's a sort of a sense of like being ready to use the gifts in a responsible way, knowing you have them. But I feel like this is a sort of like an inner knowing and inner trust. I suspect that for some of you, you have tried to show your gifts before and you've been pushed back for some reason. As I say, in your family, at school, you may have been way ahead in school and people just thought you were disruptive. So you paid the price for that. You might have been precocious in some way in your work or something, and competitive people have made you pay for that and so forth. So there's a sort of sense of needing to come to trust that which you have and to understand the abilities that you have, and to rebel not to see this as something that there should be a negative consequence for, to know and to learn from this about how best to use these gifts, but also to understand the environment you're in. I think that some of you, people are very, very jealous of you, very, very jealous of you. They can sort of see it and they do not want to see it. So they'll almost demonize you for showing it. So I think that the inner rebel here is meant to have a sense about owning that and not letting people sort of backstab you or naysay you or anything like that. You truly are very gifted, and in a multitude of ways. And this, I think it drives certain people nuts, to be honest. It's very much the energy from this. Your inner rebel needs to get back to trust yourself rather than the viewpoints of other people. So let's ask, where in your life do you most need to use this at the moment, using the tarot? So we have judgment. Oh, yeah, that's pretty clear anyway, the judgment of others. We have the Four of Cups. Excuse me, that takes a little bit. It's very hard to read the writing on this, and sometimes the imagery isn't 100% clear, but it's a gorgeous deck. So the Devil reversed, the King of Wands, and the Ten of Coins. Yeah, a lot of you, it's around creative business, how you make money, your creative sort of thing, your leadership ability, all of that kind of thing. This is understanding the judgments of others and taking judgment back for yourself. There's a lot of the judgment you're dealing with from other people comes from a very emotionally stuck place and a kind of emotionally greedy place. I really do feel that most of you are multi-talented and people just don't like it. Now, that's not everybody, but I just think you're dealing with that. You've been pushed down, you've been not seen, all of those sort of things. And this is about your inner rebel coming out to say, no, I'm going to release myself from that with the devil reversed. I'm not going to take that shadow stuff that's said to me. I'm not going to take responsibility for all the emotional fallout of other people who aren't at my level. You're allowed to be talented, but I just feel that for you, you weren't for some reason, in home, at school, in your workplace or something. And this is meant to bring you to the King of Wands, to realize how advanced you are on these things, whether it's artistic talent, whether it's intellectual, whether it's spiritual, whatever it is, so that you can manifest the life that you were meant to manifest. Because people have literally tried to trip you up. They've literally tried to box you up, and they've blamed you in some way for things. So, if you say you had 3 children in your family and you were the middle child and you weren't, like the young, like, and all those things they say, the younger one's baby, the older one's meant to be the trailblazer, you're kind of there in the middle. If it was something like this, and this is just an example, you're actually the one who's going to be the trailblazer, but you weren't kind of recognized for that. It was seen as egotistical or arrogant or show off or something like that. There's that kind of energy. So you are meant to come back to know who you are, to not listen to this, because you're meant to become the Renaissance person, the person with many gifts, the person who can make money out of the many gifts in whatever level of an area of your life it is. So let's ask what you will best benefit. What will this bring you to own your talents more, not to feel sort of shy about them. We have the Page of Swords reversed. The 4 of Wands reversed, okay. The King of Coins and the 2 of Swords reversed. Okay, so what you have to know when you're doing this is it is going to bring you some rubbish. But that's what you've been dealing with. It's to go past that. It's to materialize what you want past this, because trying to avoid that by hiding your light, is going to just, you're still going to have all this pushback. It's not like you could, if you were in a workplace and people were jealous of your skills, it's not like you could kind of pretend you didn't have them and just blend in. That's not going to happen. There's just going to be this sort of like, competition and backbiting going on. So what you get from this is you start to manifest your own bounty, your own money, your own power, all of those sorts of things. You stop yourself from being stuck in terms of decisions to make by worrying about what other people think, because it's, and I would imagine, if people had known Leonardo da Vinci back in the day, there were probably many other sort of painters and artists who didn't like him very much because he was so multi-talented. And it's not to say that you're unlikable. It's just that there are some unlikable energies around you, to be frank, jealous sort of people. So it's not that doing this is going to suddenly make them like you, because the more that you shine, the less they're going to like you. But it doesn't matter. You'll find your people. You'll move past this impasse. So let's sort of see how people more generally will respond when you really own your talents. The Sun reversed. The Knight of Wands. And the Star reversed. Okay. So in the middle, you will find other people like you. Other people, and I think people who want to follow you, because you come up as the King of Wands and here's the Knight of Wands. There will be people who want to follow you, who will go, yes, finally, and like be really inspired by you. And there were others that are going to like drift away because they can't stand in the light of your sun. They can't stand in the light of your star. So this energy is going to shift once you own who you are. You will find your people and your people will follow you. Your people will want to learn from you. People will be inspired by you. Those that don't care, those that like talent are going to follow you. Those that are threatened by it are going to fall away. They can't sort of like impact your sun and your star anymore. They lose that power. So it's very much about understanding where this stuff is coming from. Definitely. Okay, so let's see what sort of power energies can help you, because it's not always easy to do this, you know, like it's hard to be, you know, stand in the face of that kind of level of degree of jealousy. But on the other hand, once you do it, they can't hold you back at that point. So let's see what from the Modern Goddess deck we can get in terms of goddess or archetype support for you, pile 3. Fortuna. Fortuna's on your side. Fortune will be on your side. It's your time to rise. And that's the 10 of Pentacles. That's the King of Pentacles. You are going to, you know, if you want to do something with these talents, you're going to make money out of it. Definitely. Just don't let people hold you back. We have San Wee. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her correctly. And Mazu. So it's interesting because Mazu came up with another reading. So some of you may have gone to more than one reading. So you've got Fortune is coming to you. Mazu is sort of like getting in touch with, it's a goddess who became the goddess of the sea. There's a sort of sense of getting in touch with your emotions, taking on your inner dragon here, taking on who you are and connecting to your heart. So she's there around that. But Swan Wee, which I cannot pronounce correctly, so apologies about that, is effectively White Buffalo Priestess, White Buffalo Woman. So she is about peace and bringing peace and harmony. So she will bring peace where it needs to be and cut through that. She is also a goddess of many gifts, and she needed to be part of her peacemaking, and part of her power was that she needed to be respected for her gifts. So I think she is coming in to make sure that the right people come in to respect you for your gifts. Fortune wants to favour you. She wants to make sure it's based on true respect for the gifts that you have and the harmony that you can bring, because you're not the one causing the disharmony. And Mazu, I think, is to make sure that the passageway towards this is done in a way that is gentle and supportive to your heart. So let's see what magic energy is around you. Detox, cleanse and restore yourself. Yeah, to get away from this. I mean, I have to say, I feel really angry on your behalf, Paul, because I feel like you've been bullied, and I feel like people have been jealous and they've held you down, and it's just wrong. So, but I do think this energy is coming through to make sure that you know and you rise above that, and that you find the people who will respect you. And all you really need to do at this point to allow that in is to just cleanse yourself of any of this garbage that's been said to you. And we have Lavaria, let love grow. I think love, the right people, the right connections can happen once you cleanse that. It's just not going to grow. And if this is around sort of like relationships you've been in, those people have been competing with you. Those people have been trying to control you. You need to cleanse that energy out to bring true love in as well. Let's see how the stars can guide you with astrology. Conjunction. Yeah, there is a possibility of a relationship around all of this. Definitely. We'll have a look at the planets for that, but let's just get another couple first. Waning crescent moon, surrendering, releasing control of the universe. You don't need to do anything. Fortune's coming in for you. You know, these goddesses are here to make sure that that occurs. Just let the energy come through. Just own who you are. It's in you. You don't need to ask anything of the universe. You just need to set it free. And Venus, Empress, you know, bringing your inner goddess as well as your inner rebel. And also, you know, what you love, and could very much bring in love. When you've got Venus in conjunction, like, I think this will bring in a significant relationship if you aren't in one already. Or if you are, and that's the one good relationship, then that's what should be the model going forward. I'm just going to now deal out till I get the planets around the conjunction. Pluto, really big transformative energy for you. And Mercury, transforming the way that you communicate. And that you are in a power situation around communication at the moment. So you need to take control of it. You need to transform it and detox it and cleanse it and get rid of it. Okay, so to finalise this, we're going to use 4 different decks that have different sort of industry or background for icons and iconoclasts. So, and their advice for you. And I think, you know, of all the readings, you're probably the one most aligned to this because you have this multitude of talents. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see what we get. So firstly, from the fashion world for you. Christian Louboutin. So the great shoe designer, and the one that was aspirational. So there's something aspirational about you that does trigger some people who want to be that way, but it's also the thing that's going to bring people through for you. He says statements should stand on a platform. Heel height is up to you. So you need to get to the level that you're supposed to be at. He says souls should be passionate. Souls, S-O-L-E-S, should be red. Yeah, you should be passionate about what you do, and then give it a kind of a flair, a kind of a color. And red is a color of statement. It's a color of power, really. Take on a power color. Maybe wear red. He says, wear heels as high as your hopes and dreams. Yeah, do not settle for less than what your talents will bring you. Okay, let's get you someone from the art world, pile 3. Frida Kahlo, she came up for somewhere else as well too. I think some of you are going to a few, and I can actually see the through line through all of these readings. So for some of you, that may be exactly right. But she's very strong in who she is, and she took her own pain and all of that, and she turned it into her artwork. So when you're detoxing and letting this go, it will be grist to your mill. It's learning that you have. She says convalescence lasts a lifetime. You don't spell painting without pain. So some of what you went through will actually have sharpened all those skills that you have. So don't beat yourself over the head for having dealt with it, but just don't let it hold you back anymore. She says art is your most loyal companion. Yeah, who you are, your skills, your abilities, they're the loyal part to you, and they will bring the loyal people to you. And she says externalize your internal world. Yeah, your internal world is multi-talented. It just needs to find the right platform. The right platform. Okay, let's get you someone from the music world. PJ Harvey, wow, that's deep and very, very powerful sort of energy. She says, when in doubt, swim to new ground. Yeah, you do need a different set of friends, a different set of environments. Definitely. She says, jam with others but remain the lead. Yeah, you are. You're meant to be the lead. And if people can't deal with that, swim to new ground. And redream past lives. Yeah, you've brought a lot of this in. Someone isn't like this. Someone isn't, as I say, a Renaissance person, a polymath, whatever it is, without a lot from past lives. So don't doubt that. And last but not least, we're going to get somebody from any time in history with the love oracles. So it could be any sort of iconoclast or icon here for you. Oscar Wilde, wow, one of my absolute all-time favourites, who was bullied, let's face it, he had a different way of loving and at a time when that wasn't accepted, and he was put in jail for it, and yet he was like one of the most brilliant people, so you have a brilliance, you're likely to have a lot of wit and stuff as well too, and a very, very good sort of understanding of the social milieu in which you're working if you are connecting to Oscar Wilde. He says, I can resist everything except temptation. I think that's just funny. These can sometimes be funny, and that was one of his great sort of witticisms. But, enjoy yourself, I think. He says, hearts are made to be broken. So what you've gone through was part of your learning. That's okay. You can let it go. And he says, true friends stab you in the front. I think that is the people who are going to be with you. It's not really that they stab you in the front, but they're up front with you, and it's a meeting of minds and so forth. But I think you've dealt with quite a bit of stabs in the back from people, and it's time for you to come into your power, pile 3. So I hope you really do wake up your inner rebel and roar. I hope you enjoyed the reading. I hope that it resonates for you. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear about it. But other than that, I hope to see you in future readings.